What's up, y'all? Welcome to a very interesting perspective video on the recent events with the Oscars. Trying to post up in a good spot. This might not be the best. I need to check my sound levels, make sure y'all can hear me. I'm obviously on set. First and foremost, let me say, any and all views expressed in this video do not necessarily reflect those of OnyxCon, its affiliates, its associates, now, future, past, present, in other universes. Not necessarily. These are just my personal perspectives as a host of this content, as someone speaking their mind, as we are all speaking our minds. Okay, check my levels. I think this will be okay. I think y'all can hear me pretty decent. I want to talk to y'all about this slap. Everybody knows what it is by now, or most people in the world are aware. And if you're not, just to quickly place the topic in perspective, I'm talking about the recent Oscars and Will Smith's response to comedian Chris Rock. Recent response to Chris Rock. Now, I will say first and foremost, I am a true fan of both of these gentlemen's work. I have been a fan of both of their work. I have enjoyed a lot of, not all of, but a lot of most of what both of them have done over the years to reach the levels of status that they both held in the business, as celebrities, etc., etc., etc. So making that very clear, I would add to that, because I am a fan of all of that work and that status, in addition to that, being one of the label of African American, being one of the label of Black, being one of the labels of an actor, a writer, a producer, on the come up. A name you will know. Yes, Joseph R. Wheeler III. I take very seriously anyone having had the opportunities that both of these gentlemen have had, and to have what I have in common with them on those levels I just expressed, to see them reach these levels, to see them have these opportunities in this business. And when I say this business, I'm speaking specifically of the film business from a Hollywood perspective, because the film business is not only Hollywood. There are many global, it's wider than, it's bigger than Hollywood. And it's becoming more and more common that independent productions are doing things on level, on point with a lot of what you see in Hollywood. Even people with just, modern equipment are doing amazing stuff. So I just stress that, because that will be another part of you just understanding, if you're new to our content, everything that I do and why I have a full scope understanding of the ramifications and just the overall effects of what has happened. So, the biggest point I would make, or there's so many big points to make, but I'm going to say that I've listened to and I've heard all the memes. Well, not all, because they're coming. By the time I finish this video, there'll be 1,000 more. They come by the second, right? So there's no way to truly gauge everyone's perspective on it, but there is starting to become a list you could really reference and say, okay, these are most of the opinions, popular opinions of people via social media, via news, major news outlets, via people speaking up who are part of the Oscars organization and having their issues with it and whatnot. So, for that, my concern is if some of these perspectives are healthy at all. The biggest ones on the agenda are, did Will act in proper context of defending his family, defending his wife's honor? The other one you hear a lot, I'm gonna get into these, I'm just running a few of them that I plan to address. The other one is, did Will's actions speak to defending black women? Because oftentimes black women are not being protected, not being spoken up for when people are attacking them verbally, physically, mentally, spiritually, otherwise, just the whole gamut of human existence. When they are being downed, who is speaking up? Who is coming to say, enough is enough, don't you dare, right? So a lot of black women and other women, because I have friends from many perspectives, not just in America, all over the world, who have expressed their opinion of it, and many of them have been in agreement with not the violence, but the reaction, the level of reaction. Had to wait. It was a plane going over. I didn't want it to be too loud. I got enough natural set noise going on with trucks and things. So I wanted to say that you have those couple of perspectives. I probably could end right there, because I'll end up with other topics just to talk about those. So let me get into it. Okay, first and foremost, yes, Chris Rock is a comedian, because the comedian community at large that are friends of Chris Rock, or whether they know Chris Rock personally or not, have generally, from what I see, been to his rescue and said he handled it. They say he handled it well. They said this is the general consensus I keep seeing. A lot of them say that they are with him. Some of them are disappointed that he didn't press charges or follow up on in regards to Will and make it a bigger deal. Of course, as time goes on with legal stuff, that could change. Who knows? I'm not here to speak on that. That's not my points. The issue, first and foremost, is what happened. Would it have even happened had Chris Rock even said what he said? The quick answer is no. If you watch the video, especially the unedited one, where you can hear all of the wrath of Will, you can hear him, curse. You can hear generally just how angry he was. And that's not hard to find, because there's enough people in world outlets that got that. Okay, so in world outlets that got that. So when you hear it and you see it for all it was in that moment, at first, Will was doing the laugh along with the joke. Once he saw his wife looking disturbed, that's when the trigger went off, the flip switch, and he walked onto the stage and pow. And of course, Chris Rock, stunned, and I just said what he said. Will Smith just smacked it out of me and all of that, right? The fact that he reacted the way he did, from my interpretation, was really a testament to, in those environments, in any environment that's formal, an award ceremony, broadcast to the entire world, you are under the scrutiny of all types of people from the minute you enter that space to the minute you exit. Everything you do might end up on camera, or some paparazzi's photograph, or someone seeing you do something and have something to say later, or the press have it. Every single thing. Now, I'm speaking from some experience, and I'm speaking from absorbed experience of listening to other people speak on these topics. But I have been to red carpets, and I'm not just talking about independents. I've been to premieres of, with red carpets for films and things, and seen celebrities on carpet with people they don't know, people they do know, the uncomfort of being asked questions they don't want to answer, the uncomfort of being in environments maybe with people they don't like to work with anymore, people they do like to work with, people they love to work with that they wish would notice them, and maybe they can get a minute with them and put something in their ear that makes them think, oh my gosh, maybe I got a chance. So it's a lot of politicking going on. It's a lot of who you're brushing shoulders with, why you're brushing shoulders with them, and trying to make something happen. There's a whole lot of that goes on in those environments. Now you add that with the level of star that Will Smith is. This is literally a true A-list actor, A-list celebrity, outside of just being an actor. Just everything he is known for makes him an A-list celebrity. When you are A-list, you are you're just held to a higher regard in so many things. The pressure is always on you, and it can be unbearable. And I really think that with recent events, with the publicizing of family matters, with Jada Pinkett Smith's decision to do the Red Table Talk discussions, and that becoming such a popular thing, to be transparent and speak on family and personal issues and things, you really, I mean, you become, it's one of those things that, from all my perspective, it's like, I get the intent, and in a social media world where everybody's expressing themselves and trying to be more transparent and share things that they hope are valuable to other people, when they share their pains, their triumphs, their inside stuff, whatever. There's just some things that, in my opinion, don't ever need to be put in the public with family. Some things are strictly family business. Now, we all know, or should know, if you're following the story tightly, if you care to, and I don't necessarily, I'm not a celebrity hound. I don't really, being in the biz especially, I mean, I've been in the presence of people that are A-list, in the presence of people who are legends, and it just gives it a whole nother perspective. A good many of them are as amazing and charming and as friendly as you would hope they would be if you ever saw them or met them. And some of them are the opposite. But regardless of and then that may have been just that day. You see them another day on something else. Oh my God, it's so cool. I can't believe it. Is that the same person? Because we're human beings, y'all. We're human beings. So even though everybody's always weighing in on what people do, at the end of the day, every last one of us are big emotional sponges. And we absorb a whole lot, and then we squeeze it out, and then we absorb some more, and we squeeze that out, and we absorb some more. And it taints you, it changes you, it evolves you, for better or for worse, for function or for dysfunction. Notice I did not say, and I will always continue to stress this because this is my perspective that I'm always trying to share. It's not about good and bad because that's objective. People can rate that based on their experiences, but there's no denying what's functional and what's dysfunctional. So, the result of this action of Will Smith is obviously very dysfunctional for his career, regardless of his intent. At the same time, on a personal level, knowing the pressures he's been under because of the reveals on the Red Table Talk discussions, that his wife did have an affair with a young man who is also a celebrity, who was given an opportunity to come live in their home, and with them being as busy as they are, Will's not always home, and they got into, as she called it, the entanglement, and that became the famous hashtag that Will and everybody has been memed in this situation to say, entanglement? It's like, you just straight up cheated. Now, if you know the bigger stories, not bigger, just all the stories, there's also the fact that Will has admitted he admitted to infidelity prior to Jada's actions. So, and then they have an agreement to be in what seems to be, or has seemed to be, an open marriage, where you do you. Like, I heard the quote, and I'm loosely quoting, I'm not even trying to quote, but something to the effect of, when we come back to each other, let's come back to each other happy. But do as you will, be with whoever you want, just make sure when we come back to each other, we come back to each other with happy, with good energy. Now, like I said, that is a loose quote. I just know I heard something like that in my research that Will said. So, being on that level, having the financial responsibilities involved, having the family responsibilities involved, having all of what you could lose in a divorce, having all of what you could lose in your career, because people, you've allowed you publicized your relationship. There was no way not to hide it ever since it started. You were both legendary actors, legendary performers at the beginning of it, and so it just goes with the territory, right? So, here we are. But no matter what their agreement and all that, men and women are different. It's an innate energy of masculine and feminine, and about the essence of what it is to be a man and a woman. And I truly feel that is something that's beyond science. It is beyond chemical. It is, but ultimately, it's on a spiritual level. It's an essence. And I'm not speaking this as someone who is religious, because I'm not. Personally, I'm not. Okay? I'm saying spiritual in the larger sense of, no matter what your religious perspective, no matter what your spiritual perspective, there is an energy. Okay? Then we can get into the chemical of testosterone and estrogen that exist in both man and woman in different levels typically. But in individuals, it can vary on so many levels, and then intake of different things to persuade that to be higher or lower and blah, 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 blah. For Will to know that another man has slept with his wife, even in an open situation, but in his house, that right there, when I heard, I said, okay, this can only get worse. This can only get worse. That's a breaking point. No matter how strong someone is, I would think. It's just trying to imagine, that's all. Trying to put yourself in, man, you got this going for you, you got that going for you, you're both on this level, that level. Wow. What then? What now? Where do we go from here? Woo. Right? And so I think he's been holding a whole lot ever since then. He's been holding a whole lot anyway, but he's been holding a whole lot since then. That created a whole new media frenzy of tabloid level conversation about their relationship. All types of ridicule, all types of, some people wanting to call Will weak. Some other folks wanting to, play him like, how could you, do what you did before this and what she did. Just trying to always add people up and get in there. Like I said, you put it out there. That's one part of it. Then there's parts of it maybe you didn't even want out there, and it's being dug into. So it's just a lot. It's a hell of a lot. So the acceptance speech that Will did for winning Best Actor is what really touched me. Mainly because between the violent act, the slap with Chris Rock, to accepting the award, I saw someone who, knowing they had a chance of winning this award, then getting it, and feeling probably all kinds of mixed emotions, pretty much just spilled on the stage at that moment. So folks who make fun of him and say, oh, how ridiculous that he cried and whatnot and all this, I don't think you understand. I don't think, the levels of empathy, the levels of understanding, the levels of understanding the most important statement he made, in my opinion, and during that entire speech, which the whole thing was very powerful. But when he talked about in this business, the amount of disrespect, the amount of people talking to you any kind of way, the amount of all kind of disregard for your humanity that you will endure to reach this award. I'm pretty sure in that moment he had a lot of feelings to finally be holding one of these prized objects that they're supposed to be a symbol of your best work finally being recognized as an actor. And to know that you've done other work that you feel should have already been recognized, to know that people in the biz have been challenging you, trying to manipulate you once you even had success ever since you were young. Knowing that the quote unquote black community that you represent in identity, but yet you are a worldly man connected to so many wonderful people in your life that you've been able to touch and have relationships with and connect with and all this, that they will sometimes judge you, pick you apart. I can remember the era, I'm old enough to remember when Will came out, and we love Will as a hip hop legend. Him and DJ Jazzy Jeff, period. Point blank. A freaking legend. And we didn't see him as weak. We didn't see him as needing to prove he was strong on some gangster ghetto gutter type junk. None of that. Yeah, you from Philly, let me see how hard you are. Yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, none of that was important when Will Smith first came out. They could have been those, but their voices were so weak. Everybody generally respected Will. Once he reached film status, once he got into film as more of his identity and became the acting legend and the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, then the king was being judged by his own kingdom. Then the king was ridiculed for not being hard. Then the king was, how street are you? You from Philly. Philly's rough, Philly's hard. Philly's a lot of things, and it ain't all guttural. And black is a lot of things, and it ain't all guttural, and it never was intended to be. The issue, or the biggest issues, start there for someone's pain and trying to figure out, where do I go from here? So to watch his climb and doing all types of material to the moment of everything that happened that night, what I saw, knowing that him and Chris Rock were friends, that's what makes it worse. That's what makes it worse. That they are friends, that they've worked together. They've done, and I ain't talking about a few projects, it's out now. People went back and did the research, reminded me of stuff I forgot about. I was like, that's right, they did do that. And they were in that together. And, well, I'll just be damned. Like, you knew they were cool, but you didn't know. I forgot, I admit. There's so many people, and you live in your own life. I ain't got time to keep up with everybody else, literally. But you say, damn, they really were friends. That's when it hurts the most. Because for everybody who's saying, I bet you he wouldn't have slapped this person, or I bet you he wouldn't have slapped that person, or I bet you, well, to me, that's all immature conversation of somebody not understanding that every human being is of the flora and the fauna. We are the fauna. We are all animals. We are mammals. We all have an instinctual nature to defend oneself on multiple levels, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, when it is attacked. These years of stuff, and then recent years of all the stuff with his marriage, his, stuff even with his kids at times, that's a hell of a lot. Whether guilty of certain things or not, some that he's even admitted to, right? Here's my faults, here's my flaws. It's all out there. Hang me out to dry. I done told y'all. It ain't even like he hiding all of these issues, right? And for a friend to do that to you on the night that you know is one of your biggest nights, here's where the dilemma comes in. The hell with all of this. This is what comedians do, because that's a problem too. Is that what comedians do? Comedians have choices, just like everyone else, like every other artist. Comedians are some of the greatest artists in the world for what they are capable of doing and how they do it to bring laughter. And because the world has gotten more focused on its harshness, on its dysfunction, without ramifications, without attempts to build back infrastructure that has been lost. And I'm not saying that like humanity was ever on some perfect stuff. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. But with so much emphasis on capital gain over people's pain and strife, it's a time of, the more mess we can have to sell and sell news and sell whatever, we all for it. We meaning this culture in America that has become globalization too, where almost the whole world is suffering at the same time. If America's doing something on a popular level, everybody's trying to do it, whether it's for the best or not. So, going back to the history of black comedians, which is a long history. That's like literally saying the first human beings, the first people on the planet who were Africans, saying something amongst one another that invoked laughter, dawning the age of a comedian. Bring in other languages, bring in other philosophies, bring in other whatever, and in the English language, it is comedy, it is called being a comedian. By nature, a comedian, like I say, is like any artist, has a choice on how they invoke laughter. You do not have to insult people or tease people in harsh ways, especially when you know them and you might know them well enough to know that you could be pushing a button, or even if you do know them and have never known them enough to know you have pushed a button. But there's been a long issue in many black communities. Notice I always make things plural because there is no one black community, no one celebrity that is identified as black represents us all, or our perspectives, or our experiences. There's the black experience. And when I say that, it speaks of experiences. It's like having a big book with a zillion chapters in it. But there's a such chapter back in the 90s when I can remember Def Comedy Jam. I can remember the first time Bernie Mac stepped on a stage, the first time Martin stepped on a stage, the first time Chris Rock stepped on a stage, the first time, oh my gosh, so many amazing comedians that I love in many ways for different reasons. Bill Bellamy, Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer, D.L. Hughley. Did I say Steve Harvey? I said Steve Harvey. You know what I'm saying? Eddie Murphy, oh my gosh, during his reign, oh my gosh. What? The King? Come on, y'all. And then you go back to other generations, Red Fox, Moms Mabley, you know what I mean? Richard Pryor, King of Kings. But let's be real. Some of these folk who were legends like that, oh yes, can't go around it without saying it. Sans all of the other things. We talking about the legacy and parts of it, not specifically the vices, but Bill Cosby. Oh yes, gotta say him. All these folk legends for different reasons, regardless of their flaws, their indictments, their whatever. Just speaking of the art, the work, because artists are vessels for delivering the work. How it gets interpreted, when it gets interpreted, if it gets seen, whether people understand it, whether you ever got, whether you ever get the joke. Because see, that's the big thing to me about this. Everybody's saying, you can't take a joke anymore. It's ridiculous. Is this where we, here we go with the we again. There is no we. Who is we? What we? We can't take a joke. Who's we? Man, we used to spit the dozens and talk about your mama, talk about your whole family, talk about, and we just laugh. Yeah. And a lot of folk have fought each other, stabbed each other, shot each other, killed each other, gutted each other over that type of nonsense. And for black folk that are defending it from that perspective, let me just say this real quick. On the continent of Africa, and I am not someone who would pretend that I am ever going to know the entire history of that part of my essence, of that part of my heritage, because I have a lot of heritage, but I'm especially proud of that and knowing of that. I know many people from the continent. I know many people from other parts of the diaspora, the Caribbean, South America, Asia, all over the world, that would claim and understand their link back to all of what all humanity comes out of, Mother Africa. And I like the phrase Mother Africa. Even Father Africa, because together they made Africa. And all the other names it has. For all the Afrocentrics be like, oh man, are you going to say the other name? We don't have time. Of course I know. The bigger point is in all the people I know, and I know many Nigerians, I know my Igbos, I know my Ibibios, I know my Hausas, I know my Yoruba, you know what I'm saying? I know my Fulanis, I know people from Cameroon, from Nigeria, from Senegal, from Sudan, I know people from South Africa, I know people from many of the 54. And when they've told me stories, because they could see that I really wanted to know what doesn't get said in books, what doesn't get talked about as often, they would give me a lot of really real intel. And I have never heard one of them until recent times, because of this globalization and people trying to be more what they think is American, whether it's the Black American version or other American, just wanting to do whatever is going on, whether it's functional or dysfunctional. They have all said there's no record I've ever heard any of them say about, as far back as they can go in history, and we're talking people who can account for having great-great-grandparents and things of this nature. Mama is sacred. Father is sacred. Family is sacred. And there is no history of it being a black thing, in the sense of us being African peoples, where we made fun of, disrespected, downtrodden jokes about mama, daddy, sister, brother, cousin, family. Now, that is not to say humans ain't doing human stuff and having conflicts and all types of wars and issues that led to everything as it is, for better or for worse. But it is not traditional to play the dozens. This came out of slavery. The very phrase itself comes out of slavery. And so to uphold that and pretend that that's us, that's our culture, that's what we do. I don't understand when folk don't understand that's how we do. No, don't give me no we. You keep it on you. And if you and anyone else that agrees with that is that you, y'all be the we of y'all, not us. It's a fallacy. It's a fallacy. It's absolute bullshit. And it's what leads to that kind of moment we just had at the Oscars, y'all. It's what leads to that kind of moment where two friends may never be able to reconcile those differences. Where the whole public is, and the whole world has an opinion on something that ain't got nothing to do with this friendship, and how it is really behind closed doors, totally shattered in ways that cannot be repaired, even if in the face of a camera they hug it out, talk it out, do a movie together, anything. Hopefully that will happen. If it never happens, I promise you, the pain of that moment ain't going nowhere. So to be in the habit of saying that that kind of activity is just and okay and it's us, that's absolute garbage and we got to end it. This is a time, this is a chance to see it. And the we of us that is seeing and understanding this from the right perspectives can end the garbage now. We can say, I never liked it. I can think back to when I first got joned on. That's what they said in Atlanta when you make it fun. You joning. Oh, they joning on him hard. Ooh, bam. Somebody tell a good one. Ooh, bam. Yeah, this some real ATL stuff. I told you I'm from Atlanta for real. I'm from Atlanta for real. All the mama jokes and all the garbage you went through when you was in elementary school, through middle school, through high school, till you get to a point where you faded or you say one good joke and shut them down. See, I was an artist. I drew all my life. So I got to the point where I said, okay. I sit there and I draw a caricature of your ass. When I pass that around the room, you didn't even want to fight me. You didn't even want to fight me. I promise you didn't. You just go and tuck yourself somewhere. And you say, damn, I ain't never felt so ugly. And that's just visual play on your ugly energy. I just transferred it with my pencil and showed you who you were and shut them down. But the point real, y'all, the real point is that Chris Rock's history of as a comedian, when I think, there's other comedians I think of and they made a career out of making folks feel crazy, roasting people and making fun of the audience. This was not a formal roast. This is the freaking Oscars. Yes, it has become a tradition with some of the comedians to take the stage to do this, but here's the problem. You still got a choice. You don't have to do that. You do not have to do that. And you got a choice to say, that's my friend. I might play with some of these other folk if you do decide to do that, Chris Rock, but why your friend, man? It is what it is. The rest is history. He made his apology. Will made his apologies. Of course, we're not completely moving on. Everybody will continue to talk about this. But I hope that the biggest point gets made. You cannot keep this in place and keep talking about it's our culture. You know how we do. Well, if this is how we do, we, all the we's, are doomed. You know how we do. Well, if this is how we do, we, all the we's, are doomed. Because everyone looks at us, Mama Africans, Father Africans. For example, I don't care if they never admit it, they know the truth. This human family knows who their elders are. And that is why when it happens with us, everybody starts wondering which direction is right, which is the right way. It's such a big deal. It's a big debate. There's a reason why. Come full circle. Repair what's broken. Research, realize, revise. Peace, y'all.